Many adults hold this belief that they're not as an efficient learner as a younger person, or that they have a bad memory, or that they don't have the ability to retain new information, either efficiently or at all. I used to buy into that belief myself. I used to thought once I reach 25, everything is going downhill from there. Whatever I learned before 25 is as good as it's gonna be. And I said 25 because it's the conventional age of cognitive decline. A lot of people have this thought that 25 is the peak, and after that is just downhill, rolling the snowball. Obviously, as human, we go through life, we live, we experience. I didn't think that we're gonna completely cease our cognitive ability and just stop absorbing any new information. But I never thought to myself that even after 25, even as a late 20s adult, or now in my 30s, that I could retain information just like what people think a teenager can retain information from school. Actually, thinking back to my own experience, I believe that as a mature student, as a late 20, 30 adult, I actually learn better than when I was a teen. And unless you have some severe head trauma or a learning disabilities that's preventing you from reaching these learning goals easily, I think people should drop these excuses that I'm too old to learn, or I'm too old, my memory is not good, because anyone can learn or retain information if they truly want. And I'm not making this statement as someone who's riding on a high horse who has achieved academic success since she was young. My science, my math, I almost failed biology 11. I almost failed math 11. I didn't proceed to take math 12 because I didn't get it. And chemistry was always a disaster. Physics, let's not even talk about it. I thought I was a failure back in high school. I thought I was not smart enough. I thought I was just not cut out to do any academic type of studying. I don't want you to look at me and think, oh, well, she's Asian, she gets it. No, I did not get it. I was not part of that straight A Asian club. But something changed after I gone back to school in my late 20s. I went back to school to become a massage therapist. And let me tell you, if you think this is one of those adult learning, continue education that it's all hee hee ha ha, they just want to make sure you're professional enough to get into the workforce, that you have some basic understanding of massage, then off you go, you can massage people now. No, the school I go to, the area I live in, is one of the most vigorous massage therapy training area. It's a 2 years program, and it's not for the faint of heart. When I went to the info session, like, have you ever seen at an info session of a program that they straight up tell you it's going to be very hard? They basically tell you if you don't think you can work hard or have the motivation to go through it, don't bother to apply because it's going to be very hard. And they were right. It has been very hard, but something changed. I have been consistently getting A's in class, exams after exams, and learning these concepts of biology, human anatomy, neurology, things that I thought it was hard back in high school became easy. Retaining information became easy. At first, it caught me by surprise, and I started to think, what caused the change? Sure, I'm more disciplined as an adult. Sure, I'm more persistent when it comes to studying. Sure, I have more patience now to sit down and actually read through those information. But that can be it, because I had classmates around the same age as me. They do the same thing, but they weren't getting the same result I was getting. And I'm not saying this to brag, but I think there are things that I was doing that makes the difference. This goes beyond the study methods, the repetition, the drawing the mind map, or figuring out what type of learners you are. I'm talking beyond that, but also complementary to all these study methods out there. Something I was doing that I wasn't aware is actually helping studying or retaining information or having a crazy superpower memory. Something so simple and I'm going to share with you in this video that got me some really crazy results. For example, one time I had to memorize this, I don't know, 30 muscles, origin, insertion, innervation, and all their functions, and how to palpate them as part of the final or midterm exam. And it was the night before. I made the notes way before, but I never really looked into it. I didn't really spend time to memorize any of them, but it was the night before. I had to put some work in, otherwise I will be completely miserable the next day. Something crazy happened. I was with my partner and I was using him as my body to do some of the palpation. I was going through them, and I went through them once, and that was all the time I had. After that, we drove back to where I live, and on the way back, I'm not kidding you, on the way back, I could recite word for word everything I just gone through. And those words are like pictures just printed in my mind, and I could see them, and that's how I remember all of them, because I just read them out of my mind picture. I do not have photographic memory. I never had that ability. If I had that ability, I would have used it back when I was a teenager, back in my early 20s university studying, and I wouldn't be so miserable. And I consistently, throughout the 2 years of my study, get these memory imprints, these mind picture. When I read something, I could see them clearly again in my head. And of course, if anything wants to become a long-term memory, I have to go back to them again and again. That's why repetition, that these study methods, they are super helpful. But just being able to have this extra slight edge, this extra advantage of being able to remember things in such a short time has helped me so much with my study and give me so much more confidence as an adult learner. So I want to share with you these things that I've been doing that have created these seemingly miraculous results. And a fair warning that these tips that I'm sharing, some may seem very, very unconventional. If you think it's bullshit, that is completely okay. If you think there's value, you can try it out. If it doesn't work for you, drop it. But I just want to share with you in case this might be something that just give you that push or that little extra advantage that you can use to learn anything that you want to learn. There are 4 things I want to talk about. The first one is to understand your why. And I know this is the cheesiest advice I can give. You're probably thinking, well, fuck this video, it's not giving me any value, because everyone's mom is talking about figuring out your why. But I'm bringing this up because this is such a fundamental, basic brick building. Like if you're building a house, this is the ground that you need to build your house on. And figuring out your why will really give you the basic discipline, persistence, and patience that you need to get through whatever you're learning. When it gets hard, you go back to your why and you keep going. And that has served me numerous times during this journey of going back to school as a mature student and wanting to give up. Things gets hard and it's just so easy to give up. If I just walk away today and never come back, no one's gonna chase me down. My parents not gonna look at me and like, how can you not go back to school? Go back to school. You know, they don't do that. They maybe do that back in high school, but they don't do that anymore when you're adult. You take the full responsibility. So you gotta figure out why you're choosing this path of learning this concept or whatever it is that you're learning. Once you figure out your why, number 2, and I personally believe this is the biggest reason why I'm getting the result that I've been getting, is believe that you have a good memory. Stop saying that you have a bad memory. Eliminate that from your vocabulary. Just forget about this concept even exists. I'm not denying that sometimes it's hard to remember certain things, but by reinforcing, oh, I have a bad memory, you are literally reinforcing your brain to forget things. You are giving yourself the hint, the subconscious cue that any information that comes in, it's just not gonna stay. It's just gonna boop, comes out from your other ear. Have you ever met people, or maybe you are that person right now, and full transparency, I was that person. that I used to say, oh, I'm just really bad at names, and use that as an excuse to not remember their name and ask them numerous times whenever I see them. This is what grinds my teeth. This is not true. You are not bad at remembering names. You are telling yourself that you're bad at remembering names. And then the reality becomes true that, oh, I don't remember their names. The truth is, there are tips and tricks that you can use to remember people's name. And for me personally, when I didn't remember people's name, I can tell you with 100% transparency that I was just not paying attention at the time, or I didn't hear them and I was too afraid to ask them again, or it's a sound that I wasn't very familiar with and I didn't clarify what exactly the name was. There are many tips and tricks that you can help yourself to remember someone's name. For me, the fastest way is just to ask them, how do you spell your name? If it's a name that I wasn't familiar with, I'll ask them, how do you spell your name? And once I have that spelling, it's very easy, or it's easier to recall what the name is. Or when they tell you a name that is somewhat familiar, you can make a connection. Like, oh, that's my friend's name, or that's my mom's name, or you know, things like that can help you easily remember someone's name. And if it's someone that you see it once and you won't see them, or you don't know when the next time you'll see them, but there is a chance that you will see them again, just write it down. Just put on a piece of paper, write it down, put on your notes. You have your phone with you all the time probably. Put on the notes, write down their name. And next time when you see them, just before you meet them, go back to the notes and took 1 second. Oh, their name is blah. And like when you see it, like, oh, blah. And honestly, people will be so surprised that you still remember their name. I mean, they might not remember yours, but at least they feel that respect from you. But my point is, I didn't implement these tips and tricks until I changed that narrative in my head that I am good at memorizing things. If I hold the belief of I suck at memorizing, I wouldn't bother to use these tips or tricks to help myself to memorize things. Another example is I never thought I was a auditory learner. When I listen to things, a lot of time I just forgot whatever I heard. It wasn't until I changed this narrative of I'm good at memorizing stuff, or I have a good memory, that I noticed when I listen in class with an intent, with concentration, I could actually recall a lot of things that was said in the class. But I wouldn't have paid attention or put an effort into listening if I didn't have that change of narrative. If I think I am bad at memorizing, I wouldn't even bother to listen, because whatever comes in just gonna go out. And why put the effort? Our brains is lazy. Why put the effort into doing something when there's not gonna be a lot of results? So going back to learning harder concepts, say you're reading a book, a textbook, some notes, that takes more brain power to concentrate. Before you dive in, just remind yourself or tell yourself, I have a good memory. I am good at retaining things. Information stay in my brain easily. It's literally an affirmation that will cue your brain to maybe read with more intent or have a sharper concentration. This second tips that I'm sharing is really boiling down to changing your self-concept from someone who is bad at memorizing to someone who believes that they are good at memorizing and good at understanding concept. So not just memorizing, you can tell yourself, I can easily understand these concepts. And the things that you probably was struggling before, you might find that all of a sudden it just started to make sense. Number 3, visualize before your study, before your learning, or before your exam. Now, my personal experience with this is more applicable towards taking test exams, because that's what I do whenever I take an exam. Before I start an exam, I sit down and I just spend a few minutes to visualize the grades that I want to get or the marks I want to get. Now, it doesn't happen 100% of the time that I'll get the exact mark, but using this has helped me many times to get a really decent mark. Now, if you don't have an exam, you're a self-learner, I'll say use visualization before you start diving into the knowledge. Visualize how it's gonna go, visualize how you feel during it, and imagine that you will feel really good. You'll feel you have an epiphany, like, I get this now, or I just learned something, this is so useful, and that you can apply this to your life or whatever it is that your purpose of learning is. And I'll say you can expand this into anything that you do in your life. Just before you do something, just visualize how it's gonna go. Say you're going on a hangout, you're going on a date, or you're going to a job interview. Just visualize, sit down for a few minutes, visualize how it's gonna go, and feel that good feeling that you get. Say you're going to a hangout or a date, you visualize it's gonna be a good time, everyone's gonna be laughing, you're gonna feel so fulfilled after the hangout, after the date. You're going to a job interview and you visualize that you're going to find a good match, you and the interviewers are going to vibe really well, and that job is exactly what you want. Things like that, just to fill your mind and body into this good state so that your vibration is aligning with what you want. And then just detach. Like after I visualize I have a good grade, I just detach. I don't think about it when I start that exam, and whatever happens. And usually I yield a pretty good result, sometimes exceeded my expectation. And I just want to add this extra tips or extra thoughts when it comes to exam taking. If you're not a student, if you're not in school right now, if you don't have any evaluation, then you can just skip to the next tips. But what I learned is a lot of time we panic when there are a lot of things to study, when there are a lot of information to retain, and we feel like we don't have enough time, that we needed to remember everything that we need to remember in order to excel. But what I learned is that creates a panic. First of all, that will actually makes you less concentrated, and you wasted more time on worrying instead of studying. So to calm my own mind, I just tell myself that whatever I prepare is whatever I prepare. And when I have that mindset, I can actually focus and really master whatever I was reading, whatever I was studying. And the thing is, when I get to the actual exam, a lot of times the part that's being tested is the part that I actually put effort into. And maybe there are a few questions that I wasn't too sure, but I skimmed through everything and it wasn't like a huge deal. Like, it won't make you fail the whole thing because you have a good grasp of at least 80-90% of what's been tested. And I think that is also a very important change of mindset, is focus on what you can do right now and don't panic over the things that you have to do. I just wanted to throw that in there because it has helped me time after time to calm my mind and actually learn something. And I think that's a very important attitude to have, is you have to be able to concentrate and calm your own mind if you are someone who's going through an exam. So I just want to add that. Now we're on to number 4. And this one is gonna be very, very, very unconventional. It might not be your cup of tea, but I truly believe it has really helped me to excel as a mature student, as an adult learner. And that is using psychedelic. Before I got back into school, I started dabbling into this world of psychedelic. I went to journeys, I take mushrooms on my own, and I just been using it to expand my mind and to heal myself and to use it as a tool to make me a better person. But what I didn't realize was that it also really helped with my cognitive function. There are more and more researches coming out telling how psychedelics actually really benefit our neuroplasticity, which is basically a fancy way of saying our brain making new neural connections. That's really what it is when we're learning or experiencing things. Our brain is creating a pathway to mark down that experience or knowledge that we retain. If, say, we're doing the same thing over and over again, we're thinking the same patterns over and over again, or the same habitual, like grabbing things this way, our brain is just carving deeper and deeper on the same pathway. And when we're learning new things, it just means a new pathway are being formed. What a lot of research are coming out is saying that psychedelic has the ability to promote that pathway being built. So although I don't have the scientific proof, I didn't go to a study to make them test my brain, but I do believe psychedelic has been a large benefit of my learning ability, my cognitive function, and my memory. I want to put in a disclaimer that this is not an advice to suggest anyone to go take psychedelics. I don't think it's for everyone, especially minors or people who has mental illness family history, or they are currently suffer from diagnosed mental illness. It can be very dangerous, but I just want to share this just in case someone out there might find a benefit, and when they do decide to take it in a safe, measured manner, that they also experience the same benefit. So number one, figure out your why. Number two, believe that you're good at memorizing and remove any vocabulary that indicates or hint yourself that you're not good at memorizing. Number three, visualize your learning process, visualize the learning result. And number four, my personal experience is the usage of psychedelic helping me enhancing my cognitive function. If you want to take any things away from this video, I will say focus on number two and number three. Number two, believe that you're good at memorizing, that you have a good memory. And number three, visualize your learning process, your learning results, and just visualize before you do anything. I believe these are the two things that I consistently do during my time of study that really helped me get the result that I want and even exceeded the result that I expected. If you have stayed this far, thank you so much. If you find this video helpful, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. If there's anything you want me to clarify or further explain, please leave the comments below. I'll also be talking about how to live as your higher self, using my background as a massage therapist to enhance your mind-body connection, as well as everything and anything that help you to live a life that you actually love. My name is N.I.A. Thank you for being here.